So in today's video, I'm going to be exposing the Titanic, the Titan submarine situation, and the Simpsons because the Simpsons did predictive programming for this once again. And I can't show you guys the actual video of the predictive programming because it gets copyrighted on YouTube. So if you guys are interested in that, go watch the video that I made about this on Patreon. The link is in the description below. I showed more evidence that I can't show in this video, and I also showed you guys the video of the predictive programming that the Simpsons did. So before I get into the video, I want to talk about the timing of all of this because as you can see, the USDA allows lab-grown meat to be sold to US consumers on June 21st, 2023. So I find this very disturbing because they are starting to sell lab-grown meat in plain sight now, and nobody's talking about this. Instead, more people are worried about this stupid submarine. And I'll get into this topic more later on in the video because I want to give my opinion on lab-grown meat and meat in general because meat is a low vibrational food, so it lowers your vibration and it's not good for you as well. But I'll get into that later on in the video. For now, I just want to let you guys know that this is even a thing because most people don't even know about this. And as you can see, this means that US becomes the second country in the world after Singapore to allow sale of meat grown from animal cells. So this meat that they're going to start selling to people in the US is no longer from real animals. It's basically cloned meat. So in my opinion, there's no better time than now to stop eating meat because very soon this is going to be the only meat for sale. And I would not recommend eating this type of meat or meat in general because, like I said, it's a low vibrational food. And right here, notice this article says a new era. US regulator allows first sales of lab-grown meat. So they're calling this a new era. And the sad thing about this is people are so brainwashed and addicted to meat that people will just ignore that this is cloned meat and made in a lab. And there's still going to be so many people that are addicted to meat that will just conform and eat this nasty meat. And the most disturbing thing about all of this is that they decided to do this in the middle of this big Titanic submarine distraction. As you can see, this story came out on June 21st, 2023. And the height of this Titanic submarine was on June 22nd when the submarine crew was killed after catastrophic implosion. So this is definitely not a coincidence. You know, they purposely put out these two stories at the same time and reported the Titan submarine more than the cloned meat. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that because there's so many distractions right now. And not only are they distracting you from the fact that they're selling cloned meat, but the biggest distraction of all with this entire situation and all these other energy harvest rituals that they're doing right now, the main agenda with this is to distract you from yourself. Because if you're worried about everything going on in the media, you're worried about things outside of yourself and you're not focusing on raising your vibration and doing things that you have to do for yourself and for others. So this is why they put out so many distractions, especially right now, because there's a big consciousness shift happening and they want many people distracted so that they won't tap into themselves and reach a higher state of consciousness. So I hope you guys understand that, and I hope you guys are really focusing on yourself and getting more into spirituality and learning about yourself. So that's my main message with this video. Now I want to show you guys why all of this is scripted and staged. First, let's talk about the Titanic because the Titanic was a very scripted event. They harvested a lot of energy from humans when they did the Titanic, and the fact that they're bringing it up to this day to harvest even more energy is crazy. So as you can see, Titanic and fiction have the same gematria in 4 ciphers because the Titanic was a scripted event. You know, fiction means fake. And there was so much predictive programming done with this, with a fictional book called The Wreck of the Titan. So The Wreck of the Titan is literally a book about what happened with the Titanic. But the crazy thing about this is this book came out 14 years before the Titanic. As you can see, The Wreck of the Titan book came out in 1898. And the sinking of the Titanic ship happened on April 14th, 1912. So this book came out before the Titanic, and look at how many similarities there is between this book called the Titan and the actual event from the real ship called the Titanic. The first obvious connection is the fact that both of these stories are about a ship, and in the book it's called the Titan. The real ship is called the Titanic. So it's a similar name. And now let's look at the description of these two events. So the details of the book are on the left and the details about the Titanic are on the right. So let's compare the similarities between these two stories. So the book gave a fictional description of this ship and they called it the largest craft afloat. And then the Titanic, the description that they gave in real life was the largest luxury liner. And then in the book, they said it is unsinkable. And then in real life, they said the Titanic is unsinkable. So that's a direct connection. And then in the book, they said that it crashed 400 miles from Newfoundland. And in real life, the Titanic crashed 400 miles from Newfoundland. So the same exact thing. And then in the book, it crashed at 25 knots. And then in real life, the Titanic crashed at 22.5 knots. So not exactly the same, but very similar. And then in the book, the ship hit an iceberg on the starboard bow. And the Titanic hit an iceberg on the starboard bow. And then in the book, they said there was not enough lifeboats for the passengers. And more than half of the passengers died. And the same exact thing for the Titanic. There was not enough lifeboats. And more than half of the passengers died. They both sank in April. They both sank in the North Atlantic. They both sank near midnight. They're both British-owned steeled vessels. They're both 800 feet long, and they both had over 2,000 passengers. So what are the chances that these two stories are nearly identical, and this book came out 14 years before the Titanic actually happened? So this is 100% proof that the Titanic was a scripted event that was pre-planned and put into this book so that they can show us in our face that it was pre-planned and scripted. So let's talk about this number 14 because the Titanic happened 14 years after the book. And as you guys know, dead equals 14. So all of this was scripted. And notice that the Titanic sunk on April 14th. So that's another connection to dead, which is 14. And the date of April 14th, when you write it out, it's 4/14, like 414. And if you guys remember this number, I talked about it in my recent video because Order of the Illuminati is 414, Jehovah is 414, and this is the name for most Christians for the God character in the Bible. And the ironic thing about this is that Jehovah means disaster. So this is why Jehovah is connected to all of these disastrous events, like the Titanic, for example. And another disastrous event that it's connected to is the Canada Fire. As you can see, Canada Fire is also 414. And I talked about this in my video about the fires. You know, it was a big fire ritual that I exposed in this video. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll put a link in the description. Now let's talk about the date that the Titanic launched. As you can see, the Titanic launched on May 31st, 1911. And I can't get too into detail about this number that I underlined, but you guys should understand why I underlined that number. You know, I talked about that situation with that number more on my Patreon. I can't talk about that too much on here, so I recommend you guys watch my video on Patreon because I found so many connections with that. So anyways, the Titanic launched on May 31st, and the numerology of this date is 38, and fake death is 38. And the full numerology of this date, you know, when you add the 19 and the 11, you get 48. And hoax is 48. So the fact that the numerology of the date the Titanic launched is connected to hoax should show you that this is all a hoax. And submarine is 48 because the whole event with the submarine recently is a hoax as well. And then Titanic Submarine is 48 and the Simpsons is 48. And the Simpsons are very connected to this as well because they did predictive programming. As you can see, there's a whole episode where Homer Simpson goes in a submarine and he gets stuck and he runs out of oxygen. And the same exact thing happened recently with the Titanic Submarine. So the fact that there's predictive programming for the submarine and the Titanic should show you that both of these events are scripted and fake. And the Simpsons are very connected to this. As you can see, the Titan and Simpsons both equal 34 and 47. And Titan is an interesting name that they gave for the submarine because Titan is the largest moon of Saturn and the second largest moon in the solar system. So this is why they named the submarine Titan after this moon. And also there's another connection with this moon that I'll talk about at the end of the video. because it's connected to the Bible as well. You know, everything they do is scripted with the Bible because they wrote the Bible. So another interesting thing is the fact that this submarine is a submarine that they use to go see the Titanic, right? And they called it the Titan. And Titan is in the word Titanic, as you guys can see. And the most ironic thing about all of this is the fact that the book that did predictive programming for the Titanic is called The Wreck of the Titan. And now we have this whole situation with the Titan submarine. So none of this is a coincidence. It's all in our face. And as you can see, Titanic Submarine and HOAX have the same gematria of 110. Now let's talk about some more weird connections between this Titanic submarine and Titanic. So the wife of the pilot of this missing Titanic tour submarine is linked to Titanic passengers. What are the chances of this, you guys? The wife of the pilot of this submarine is actually the great-granddaughter of 2 passengers who died on the Titanic. What are the chances of this? This is all proof that both of these events were scripted and have actors involved in this. And they showed a fictionalized version of the couple in the movie Titanic. And this is them right here kissing on the bed. And what makes this story even more ironic is the fact that this guy that's kissing his wife recently faked his death. As you guys can see, the Titanic actor Lew Poulter died at age 94. And the weirdest thing about this character, they announced his death on June 27th, but he actually died on May 21st. So that's very strange, you know, why would they announce his death a month and a week later after he actually died? You know, they purposely did this because on May 21st, the Titanic submarine didn't go missing yet, so they waited till it went missing, and then they announced that this Titanic actor Lew Poulter died. And like I said, the biggest connection here is that this guy played the role of this guy in the movie, and the actual guy that he played the role of had a great-great-granddaughter that died on the Titanic submarine. So I hope you guys see how scripted all of this is. And they specifically waited to announce his death on June 27th. As you can see, TMZ announced that he died on June 27th, even though he actually died on May 21st. And the distance between these two dates is 38 days. So TMZ waited 38 days to announce his death because killing equals 38, scripted is 38, and fake death is 38. And also Isidore is 38 as well. And that's the name of the character that he played in the movie, who ironically had a great-great-granddaughter who also died in the Titanic submarine. So all of this is stupid and scripted. It's all in our face, man. And they put the number 38 in plain sight as well with the time that this article was posted. So TMZ posted this article at 5:38 a.m. So now let's break down the number 94, because he faked his death at age 94, and his name Lew Poulter equals 49, which is 94 in reverse. And he died of lung cancer apparently. And this is an interesting connection because apparently he died from cancer, and they announced his death on June 27th, which happens to be in cancer season. So this is why they specifically waited to announce his death on June 27th so that it can be a part of cancer season, because apparently his cause of death was cancer. Another ironic coincidence with all of this, a few days before the Titanic submarine went missing, a ship holding over 700 migrants sunk in Greek waters. So again, this is not a coincidence. What are the chances that both of these things happen a few days apart from each other? And all of this is fake, man, because they're saying that the Titanic submarine went missing and they couldn't contact it. But that doesn't make sense in today's day and age, considering the technology that we have. Because as you can see, in 1969, they were talking to astronauts on the moon, apparently, who were 238,000 miles away with a 0-second delay. And this was in 1969. But now in 2023, they can't contact a submersible that is only 13,000 feet in the ocean. So both of these events were fake and scripted, because this logically doesn't make sense. And the funny thing about this is that they even put it in our face with the Rick Ross character, because he made this video explaining how none of this makes sense, because normally they tether the submarine with a rope so that if they ever lose contact, they can just pull them up. And Rick Ross told us in plain sight that this was all fake with this video because none of this makes sense. And if you guys are interested in my Rick Ross video, I'll put a link to that in the description below because he's a character as well. But they used his character to tell us the truth in plain sight that all of this is fake.
So unfortunate about the news submarine being lost at sea. It's the only question I had. And no, I'm not a seologist. Only question I had was, why wasn't the submarine tethered? Meaning having a cable attached to the rear of it all the way to the top above water, so once you lose communication, you could hit a button and it pull it all the way back to the top. If you lose your phone, you could find your phone. If you lose tracking devices everywhere, how you weren't able to track this? That's the only question.
So now let's talk about the people who were on the submarine. So there was this guy called Hamish who was on the submarine. And when you break down his name, the name Hamish is a boy's name with Scottish origin, meaning supplanter. And supplanter in the Bible means to deceive or defraud. And like I mentioned earlier, everything they do is connected to the Bible because they wrote the Bible. So they do so many riddles connected to it. Here's another one. So one of the billionaires had a son who was also on the submarine, and his name was Suleman. And the interesting thing about this is that his name is connected to the Bible because there's a character in the Bible called King Solomon. And as you can see, King Solomon had a shamir in the Bible. And notice how it looks exactly like OceanGate's submarine. What are the chances of this? You know, King Solomon's shamir looks identical to the submarine, and his name is Solomon. And one of the passengers' names is Suleman, which is very similar to Solomon. And in case you guys don't know what a shamir is, the shamir in Hebrew is a worm or a substance that had the power to cut through or disintegrate stone, iron, and diamond. King Solomon is said to have used it in the building of the first temple in Jerusalem in the place of cutting tools. Because the Bible is full of fictional stories, this is why King Solomon had this worm. And all of these fictional stories in the Bible have multiple meanings. You know, the word worm is used in many other things, like wormholes, for example. But anyways, moving along, here's another very interesting connection that the Titanic has with the Bible. They released the Titanic movie on December 19th, 1997. And the Titanic submarine exploded on June 22nd, 2023. So this means that the distance between the Titanic movie release and the explosion of the submarine was exactly 1,331 weeks. And this number is connected to the Bible because Revelation 6:12, when you write it out in gematria, it equals 1,331 as well. So what are the chances that this entire verse has the same gematria as the distance between the Titanic movie release and the Titanic submarine explosion? And notice that the number 33 is in the middle of this number. But what I really found interesting about this verse is the fact that it says, I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. So keep in mind, the Bible is full of analogies and metaphors. The Bible is not to be taken literal. So when you see these stories in the Bible, there's always an analogy to it. And in this case, this is connected to the Titanic and the submarine. So I find it ironic that this verse talks about a great earthquake. And when they were looking for the Titanic submarine, they said they heard a loud sound when it exploded. So this is very similar to that of an earthquake. And then notice it says, the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. So again, this is symbolic to the situation because it says the moon became as blood. And as I showed you guys earlier, the name of this submarine is called the Titan. And Titan is the name of a moon, Saturn's moon to be exact. So notice how this entire verse is literally describing what happened to the Titan submarine. It said the moon became as blood because the name of this submarine is named after a moon. And after it exploded, these people supposedly died, which means their blood was in the water. So that's what this blood is referencing. And like I said, The earthquake is a reference to the explosion of the submarine. So this entire verse is literally a metaphor to the Titanic submarine situation that happened. This is proof that the Bible is full of analogies and it's not to be taken literal. You know, many people are in fear because of what is written in Revelation. But once you know that it's not to be taken literal, you can see the truth behind it and how it describes certain things. Because the Bible is scripted with all of these events that they're doing on the world stage. You know, the Bible is basically a big book of predictive programming, because this is direct predictive programming for the Titanic and the Titanic submarine. And there's so much more predictive programming in the Bible. I could literally make a whole video about it. So anyways, moving along, this is Stockton Rush. I believe he was the pilot of the submarine, and he's also the founder of OceanGate, which is the company that made the submarine. And notice that he's doing this triangle symbolism in this picture right here. And like I mentioned in my other videos, when they do this triangle symbolism, they're symbolizing the mind, body, and soul, because we are made up of three things, which is the mind, body, and soul. And as you can see, it creates the shape of a pyramid. So this is why they're doing this symbolism all the time. They're showing you the esoteric knowledge about yourself in plain sight, and they're gatekeeping this information, which is why they don't actually tell you straight up any of this information, but they hint at it with this symbolism. So they're mocking the esoteric knowledge that they are hiding from you right in your face. And this information is not hard to find. It's just that people are so programmed and distracted that they're not searching up the right things on the internet. You know, you can learn so much esoteric knowledge on the internet, but people choose to be distracted by these distractions that they're putting out in the media instead of doing research about themselves. But anyways, here's some more esoteric knowledge that they symbolized with this submarine. Here's the front of the submarine, and as you can see, it literally looks like an eye, and it's one eye because it symbolizes the third eye. And they do this all the time. They even have another submarine called the Cyclops, and Cyclops is a one-eyed monster. And as you can see in the front, it's literally the shape of an eye. So this is all third eye symbolism. They're showing you in plain sight that you have a third eye in your brain that is very powerful. And when you activate your third eye, you can see through all of the deception. This is why the Egyptians mocked the third eye as well, by putting it right in our face with the eye of Horus. It's literally the same shape as the third eye in our brain, which the doctors call the thalamus and the pineal gland. So now let's talk about the scripting with OceanGate and Titan. So OceanGate made this Titan submersible. OceanGate is 172, just like Submersible and predictive programming. And this is why I showed you guys all of that predictive programming that they did. Then you can see Titanic Submersible equals 201, and 201 is a number they use all the time because Illuminati ritual is 201, Order of Illuminati, the Freemasonic Order, the Jesuit Order, and the Holy Bible all equal 201, because these are all cults and organizations that they created, including the Holy Bible. This is why the Holy Bible is 201. And this is why there's so much predictive programming in the Bible, because they wrote it with analogies for the script of the world stage. Like that verse I showed you guys earlier was literally predictive programming for the Titanic and the submarine. So moving along, the Titan has the same gematria as Fake Death and Simpsons and Orange Sky. So the Titan is connected to Fake Death because all these people in the submarine faked their death. And then it's connected to Simpsons because of the predictive programming. And it's connected to Orange Sky because that was the recent energy harvest ritual distraction that they did 2 weeks ago on the world stage. And I exposed that in this video, so I'll put a link to this video in the description. Now let's talk about the date that the submarine went missing. So the Titanic submarine has been missing since June 18th. As you can see, the submersible Titan vehicle has been missing since June 18th in the North Atlantic with 5 people on board. And of course they have 5 people on board. You know, 5 is the pentagram, and the pentagram symbolizes your head, your 2 arms, and your 2 legs. That's 5 in total, because we are the shape of a pentagram. But anyways, the Titan went missing on June 18th, and this date should sound familiar because recently Big Pokey faked his death on June 18th, and I'll make a separate video about this. And then XXXTentacion also faked his death on June 18th, 2018. And then Trippie Redd's birthday is June 18th, 1999. And Takeoff's birthday is June 18th, 1994. And I have multiple videos about him as well. I'll put a link to those in the description. But one thing I really want to mention is the fact that the number 18 is connected to the number 6 because 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. So this is why Trippie Redd was born on June 18th, 1999. You know, the 3 9s upside down are 6s, and June is the 6th month. So his entire birthday basically has 7 6s encoded inside of it. And ironically, Trippie Redd is 24 right now, and 2 plus 4 is 6. And then you look at XXXTentacion's date of death, which was June 18th, 2018. You know, June is the 6th month. And then you have the 18th, which is 3 6s. And then it happened in 2018, which is 3 more 6s. So his entire death date has 7 6s as well. And in my video 2 weeks ago about the fire ritual, I showed you guys what the number 666 actually means. So I recommend you guys watch that video if you haven't, because 666 is not a bad number. Every living thing is made out of carbon, and carbon is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. So that's all the number means. You know, all these numbers that they use are all knowledge about ourselves and the earth and the universe in general. Now let's talk about the date June 22nd, because this is the date that the Titanic submarine crew was killed, because the catastrophic implosion happened on June 22nd. And ironically, there's a show called The Last Ship, which is about a ship. And the date of the first episode of this show was ironically June 22nd, just like the day that the Titanic submarine crew was killed. Now let's talk about the Simpsons predictive programming that they did in this episode. And again, I can't show the video, but I'll just show you guys screenshots. And if you guys want to watch the full video, the link is in the description below. I made a video about this on my Patreon, and I was able to show the full video of the predictive programming episode of The Simpsons. So right here you can see that Homer is on a submarine, and he's looking at a ship that is wrecked in half. And this is symbolic to the Titanic, because as you guys know, the Titanic split in half. Here's some pictures of the Titanic movie where it's split in half. They do so much mockery with The Simpsons. You know, they let us know in plain sight that The Simpsons is doing predictive programming. As you can see, a former showrunner and writer for The Simpsons, his name is Mike, and he said that he took multiple trips on the missing Titanic submarine before it went missing. So what are the chances that one of the guys that used to be the writer for The Simpsons went on the same submarine that The Simpsons did predictive programming for? And it gets even deeper than that, because the former Simpsons showrunner Mike rode the same Titanic submersible last year that is now missing. And the last episode that he ever produced was called Simpson Tide, involving Homer getting stuck on a damaged submarine. So there's just so many direct connections here. It's in plain sight. And here's a video of the writer of The Simpsons admitting that the world stage has a script, and they use this script for their script in The Simpsons. He admits this in plain sight.
So then where in the writing process do you predict the future?
We consult all the different sources, and they'll tell us. It's not predicting. They just dictate the future, and then we're mandated to put it in the script.
And most people probably think he's being sarcastic in that video, but he told us in plain sight. Anyways, I noticed that The Simpsons has a lot of symbolism. Here you can see Homer doing symbolism with his fingers. And I find it strange that all of these cartoons characters only have 4 fingers. And I also noticed that Homer has a big M for his hair on the side of his head. And this could be symbolic to masonry, because masonry starts with an M. And as you can see, Simpson and masonry have the same exact gematria in 4 ciphers. And here's a small clip from the video where Homer is in the submarine and he says he's looking for Mason.
Which way did Mason go?
So as you can see, there's an M on the side of his head. And I noticed that the M turned sideways makes a 3. And masonry is 33, Simpson is 33. And the guy that directed the Titanic movie, James Cameron said he visited the Titanic wreckage 33 times. So the guy that directed the movie went on the Titan submarine to see the Titanic 33 times. And his name Cameron is 33, just like masonry. And here's a video of a celebrity going on the Titan submarine a few days before it went missing. And notice when he goes underwater, he specifically says that he's 33 feet under the water.
There you go. Yay! Yay!
So we're officially underwater in a submarine right now. 33 feet, I believe, right?
And the numerology of the date that the crew was killed is 33. As you can see, the numerology of June 22nd, 2023 is 33. And this is because we have 33 vertebrae stacked on our spine, and your spine is directly connected to your third eye. So this is why the Jesus character in the Bible died at age 33. And notice how they even said that he did his most important work in the 3 years before he died at 33. And supposedly he died on April 3rd, AD 33 at 3 p.m. And it took him 3 days to resurrect after he died. So this number 3 is everywhere. The number 3 is symbolic to your mind, body, and soul. Another connection with the Simpsons predictive programming. In this episode, Homer went on the submarine with his dad. So it was like a father-son submarine trip, right? And the connection here is that in real life, the same situation happened. A billionaire father and son took a trip on this Titanic submarine and went missing. So it's literally the same story. And then there's another connection with the son of a billionaire, because one of the billionaires that was on the Titanic submarine had a stepson named Brian Saz that went viral because he said he was attending a Blink-182 concert to cope. So I did research on the Blink-182 band. One of the celebrities in this band is Tom DeLonge, and as you can see, he's openly a Freemason. Here's a picture of him at his Freemason lodge. So he's openly a Freemason, and he even has the Freemason logo on his guitar. Here's 2 other guitars where he has it. As you can see, it's all over this one, and it's right here as well. And then he has this tattoo that says illuminated with wings on his neck, and this symbolizes the esoteric knowledge that he has, because like I said, all Freemasons and celebrities have this knowledge. So this is why they put it in plain sight and do symbolism for it all the time. And here he is doing the third eye symbolism. And notice his shirt says to the stars, because humans are made of stardust, in case you didn't know. And here he is doing more symbolism again. So the stepson of the billionaire who died on the submarine was trending because he took this picture and he said, "It might be distasteful being here, but my family would want me to be at the Blink-182 show because it's my favorite band. Everything they do is on purpose. None of this is a coincidence." Because as you can see, he's wearing this Blink-182 shirt that literally has the Skull and Bones logo with a pentagram. As you can see, it's the same as the Skull and Bones logo. And notice Titanic Submarine and Skull and Crossbones both equal 110. And the name of this band literally has a number, which is 182. So of course, this entire story is connected to the number 182. As you can see, the Skull and Bones equals 182. Fake death is 182. And these 5 people faked their death on the submarine. The Virgin Mary is also 182. Christianism is 182. And Christianism is the original name for Christianity. And then Mommy Makeover is 182. So this is connected to Jackie O's death as well. If you want to see me and Devon Sade's videos about that, the link to that playlist is in the description. And plastic surgery is 182. And supposedly she died after plastic surgery. And I forgot to mention this in my Jackie O videos, but DC Young Fly has a song called Surgery. And ironically, it's on the same album that he named after his other character, Bobby Womack. As you can see, he has this song called Surgery. and then his girlfriend dies after surgery, and this album is a reference to Bobby Womack, who's his base character. So that's a very interesting detail. You know, all of this was fake. I recommend you guys watch my videos about that. So now let's talk about the connection that Cardi B has with all of this. So she was beefing with Brian Saz, and as you can see, both of their names are 5 letters. You know, Brian and Cardi are 5 letters, and they have the same gematria as well. So here's the video that she made about this entire situation, and then I'll show you guys a video of TMZ talking about it, because they talked about the weird filter that she decided to use in this video.
Okay, so one of the billionaires that's missing on the water from that submarine, one of the billionaires, their stepson, is at a concert, right? At a Blink-182 concert. And people is like, well, what is he supposed to do? Be sad at the house? Is he supposed to go look for himself? Yes. You're supposed to be at the house sad. You're supposed to be crying for me. You're supposed to be right next to the phone waiting to hear any updates about me. You're supposed to be counseling your mom. And, like, isn't it sad that you a whole billionaire and nobody gives a about you? Like you missing and is ready to shake at concert. That's crazy. I'd rather be broke. I'd rather be broke than and poor, but knowing that I'm loved. Like,
if you're gonna call someone out for showing poor taste in the midst of a potential tragedy, maybe don't do it with a goofy Snapchat demon behind you.
So I'm not even going to get into the agenda that she talked about with that video, because she just wants people to worry about this whole situation. But I just wanted to point out that out of all filters to use for this video, she decided to use this weird, creepy filter of a person with no skin hugging her in a weird way. You know, it just looks very creepy. And as you can see, Cardi is connected to OceanGate and Titan. They all have gematria of 35. And she's connected to this in multiple ways, because she dressed up as Marge Simpson from The Simpsons for Halloween a couple years ago. Here's some pictures of her dressed up. And I noticed in this picture, she looks a lot like Selena. And me and Divine Sade made a video about this. So here's a comparison of Cardi B and Selena, because she is one of her characters. And me and Divine Sade made multiple videos about this. I'll put a link to those in the description. So real quick, I just want to show you guys some pictures of Nicki Minaj recently during this live stream, because she looks so much like Cardi B right here. And regular people are starting to notice because it's so obvious, man. Here's a comparison of Cardi B and Nicki Minaj, and they look exactly alike. And this is a very disgusting thing that they did with these two characters, because these two characters are right in our face. You know, they're both the biggest female rappers in the industry, and they're literally the same. So I highly recommend you guys watch me and Divine Shade's videos about this, because we went more into detail about it. But I found an interesting connection recently. So Nicki Minaj and Latto had beef recently on Twitter, and then a couple months later, Nicki Minaj's other character Cardi B makes a song with Latto. So this is a blatant connection. And here's another comparison of Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. And notice that she's doing the vow of silence in this picture, because they know all of this esoteric knowledge, but they're hiding it from you. And that's what this symbolizes, that they'll never tell the masses about this knowledge, because even a stupid character like Cardi B has all of this knowledge. You know, they're just characters. They're playing stupid, but they're not actually stupid. That's why she's doing the Fibonacci symbolism right here with the mocking tongue. And then here she goes doing it again. And here she is doing it again in a music video, along with the third eye symbolism. And here she is again with third eye symbolism, and she's wearing orange, which equals 33 in gematria. And I found it weird that she's pushing these very futuristic looking shoes. These shoes look very stupid, and the sad part about this is many people in the comments were asking what these shoes were because they thought they were cool. So this shows that whatever celebrities promote will be attractive to people that are brainwashed and idolize these celebrities. You know, the fact that people wanted to buy these stupid looking shoes just because she was wearing them. Here she is doing the third eye symbolism again, and she's flipping off the camera because celebrities do not like us. They tell us in plain sight. Here she is doing it again with the mocking tongue, and in the caption she literally said F you. And 3 million people liked this post. Really think about that. She's telling all these people, F you, I hate you, but yet they're still liking her post. And, you know, it's all in our face. You know, we can't victimize anyone for idolizing them because they tell us how much they hate us in plain sight. She even dressed up as Poison Ivy because she's literally poison. And right here, she's promoting poison. As you can see, not only is she doing symbolism with her hand, but she's eating a chicken foot on camera. And millions of people loved this video. So she's promoting that meat, which is a low vibrational food. And like I told you guys earlier, the USDA allows lab-grown meat to be sold to US consumers. So if you guys want my opinion about this, I personally don't recommend eating meat. I think people should eat whatever they want, you know, do whatever makes you happy. But in my opinion, my life has improved in many different ways ever since I stopped eating meat. And I won't go too much into detail about that. I'll save that for Patreon for people that really want to know about that. But just know that when you stop eating meat, you will notice many improvements in your life and your health, especially for people that are trying to lose weight. So that's just my opinion. You know, I'm not here to force anyone to stop eating meat. But this should be a red flag right here that meat is obviously not good for you because they promote it so much with characters like Cardi B. And how I know meat is a low vibrational food is by the way they use the word beef. Think about it. Beef is the name of cow meat, but they use it when two people are fighting with each other. You know, they say that they have beef. And fighting is a low vibrational thing. So this is why they call it beef, because beef is also low vibrational. So it's right in our face. But moving along, last thing I want to expose in this video is Leonardo DiCaprio's other characters. Since I'm on the topic of Titanic, I might as well expose the main character in the movie, which is Leonardo DiCaprio. And as you can see, he's based off of this character, Vladimir Lenin, from the 1800s. And he even has this female character from 1960, and her name is Judy Zipper. And as you can see, they look so much alike. This one is very obvious because Leonardo looks like a woman. And then he has this other character, Jack Nicholson, who's getting very old right now, and they're probably going to fake his death very soon. But as you can see, they look exactly alike. This one is very obvious. Especially right here, man. They look so much alike. And now that Leonardo is getting older, you can see it even more. And finally, they made a mixed character called Matt Damon. Because when you mix Mark Wahlberg and Leonardo DiCaprio, you get Matt Damon. He's a mixture of both of these characters. And the other character, Kel from Titanic, you know, the actor that played him is Billy Zane. And Billy Zane's other character is Tristan Tate. As you can see, these two characters look so much alike. And I made a video about this 5 months ago. So if you guys want to watch that video, the link is in the description. I recommend you guys watch that video because I also showed Billy Zane's other characters. And one of them is Drake. I'm sure you guys can see it just by this picture alone. So I recommend you guys check that out. And last thing I want to mention is the fact that Elon Musk posted this right when the Titanic submarine situation happened. So he's letting us know in plain sight that this is another psyop. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to watch the full video of the Simpsons predictive programming that I can't show on YouTube, the link to this Patreon video is in the description. Thank you guys so much for your support. And if you guys want to talk to me on Patreon, all you have to do is subscribe and message me on there and we can schedule a phone call. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys drop a like, share, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and make sure you're focusing on yourself and growing spiritually, because that's the most important thing. Don't let any of these distractions distract you from yourself.